Please consider subscribing and liking the video if you like this kind of content. In January 2026, one of Twitch's most chaotic and recognizable streamers accidentally exposed something that would destroy his career in a matter of seconds. Not over time, not through a long investigation, but instantly. A simple mistake, one window, one application. And just like that, everything changed.
It contains egregious material. It's censored. It's so bad it had to be censored for LSF. That's how bad it is. I mean, yo, you can say whatever you want. It's so bad it had to be censored for LSF. That's how bad it is. And it'd be a crime if they reposted them for sure or some shit. Look at the tab names. Oh, I didn't even.
Hey, feeds.
I just assumed it was awful. I moved on. I didn't.
Champions that I like.
This is the story of how Lacari went from a rising and entertaining online personality to one of the biggest crash-outs the streaming world has seen in years. To understand why this situation exploded the way it did, you first need to understand who Lacari was before everything went wrong. Lacari built his audience through a very specific type of content. He was loud, unpredictable, and often leaned into what people would call degenerate humor.
Oh!
I feel like he'd love
He would like it, especially because it's like a Adult Swim original.
Yeah, that
Do you
was
like
on Adult
Lacari?
Swim.
Do you like Berserk?
My boy!
Hey, what's that?
Of course!
My boy!
Of course, of course.
What's that song in Berserk?
I'm
One
sad
goes-
that it's not gonna get finished. Did you read the
No,
manga?
well, Mira died. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a
Rest in
Jitterbait
peace.
cosplay of the armor version.
Really?
I sure did.
That chaotic energy became his brand. He played a mix of games, from League of Legends to gacha games, and even speedrunning content. His streams were not always about skill or competition. They were about personality. People watched him because anything could happen. And more importantly, he was connected. Lacari was not isolated. He existed within a wider network of streamers and communities. He had ties to larger circles in the streaming world, including people associated with major content groups and shared audiences. That meant one thing. When something went wrong, it was never going to stay small. It was going to spread fast. And that is exactly what happened on January 22nd, 2026. At first, it was just another normal stream. Lacari was switching between games, moving from League of Legends to StarCraft 2. Nothing unusual, nothing that would suggest what was about to happen. Then, in a moment that lasted only seconds, he opened Microsoft Notepad. On its own, that means nothing. Streamers open random applications all the time. But this time was different, because the version of Notepad he was using automatically restores previous sessions. Instead of opening a blank page, it opened something that had already been there before. A list of download links. And the names of those links immediately raised serious concerns. Within seconds, people watching the stream noticed. Clips were created almost instantly. 7 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. That was all it took for the situation to leave the stream and enter the internet. The clips began spreading across platforms at an incredible speed. Posts started appearing everywhere. Discussions began almost immediately. Re-uploads multiplied. And the reaction from the community was intense.
I wasn't close to either of them, so I think I'm just gonna not get involved in the situation. It's just a nice reminder of why I keep to myself now. You gotta take some accountability for the fact that a bunch of people around you turn out to be a bunch of weirdos, right? You can't just say like, oh well, I didn't know, I had no idea.
People were not confused. They were not unsure. The general's sentiment was very clear. He had been caught red-handed. What made the situation worse was how it looked. This did not appear to be a random pop-up. It did not look like something that had just appeared by accident in that moment. It looked like something saved, something organized, something that had been there for a reason. There were multiple entries, multiple links, a pattern that suggested repetition, and that is what made the situation so damaging. Because in moments like this, perception becomes reality, and the perception was already set. The consequences came almost immediately. On Twitch, Lacari was suspended. At first, it seemed like a short-term ban, something that might pass quickly. But as the clips continued to spread and the conversation grew larger, the situation escalated. The suspension was extended, and while he would eventually return, the initial impact was already severe. On Kick, the response was even more decisive. He was permanently banned. No temporary suspension, no waiting period, just a complete removal from the platform. At the same time, the social consequences began to unfold. Organizations and groups that were once connected to him started to distance themselves. Sponsors pulled away quickly. And perhaps more importantly, people within his own circle began to step back. Streamers who had previously interacted with him stopped doing so publicly. Moderators left. People who had supported him went silent. Others addressed the situation directly and chose to cut ties completely. This was not just backlash. This was a full collapse of his network. And then came what many people now refer to as the crash-out phase. Instead of stepping away and letting the situation settle, Lacari went live again, and again, trying to explain what had happened, trying to defend himself. But these streams did not calm the situation. They made it worse. He denied any wrongdoing. He suggested that the situation was not what people thought it was. At times, he implied that the files were not his responsibility. And then, he made a statement that changed everything. He accused another streamer, Mizkif, of being involved. He claimed that Mizkif had sent him the files as a form of sabotage. That accusation shifted the entire narrative. Because now, this was no longer just about a mistake or a leak. It became a direct conflict between creators. Mizkif responded quickly. He denied the accusation and pushed back strongly. The situation escalated even further as both sides became part of the conversation.
Lacari said in his Discord, I feel like no one actually cares and just wants to farm content. Lamau, those video thumbnails are crazy. Only reason that guy cared is because it takes attention of how shitty of a person he is. He's probably talking about me. You literally had links on your computer that you literally admitted to deleting it and saying sometimes it gets downloaded and you don't know what to do and you delete it. Lacari, check yourself into a mental hospital, bro. You really are trying to say that we are just trying to farm content. And that tells me you don't care.
At this point, what started as a single moment on stream had turned into something much bigger. It was no longer just a controversy. It was a full-scale drama involving multiple people, multiple communities, and a rapidly growing audience. And it did not stop there. As more people became aware of the situation, it began to connect with existing tensions in the streaming world. Old relationships came back into focus. Past interactions were re-examined. People who had history with Lacari, directly or indirectly, began to comment, respond, or distance themselves. Some spoke openly, others chose silence. But both reactions added to the overall intensity of the situation. Because in online communities, silence can sometimes speak just as loudly as words. At this stage, the situation had moved beyond one individual. It became about the environment around him, the networks, the friendships, the shared audiences. Everything was now part of the conversation. And as the days passed, the story continued to evolve. More clips surfaced. More discussions took place. More opinions formed. As of March 2026, the situation is still being talked about. Even after returning to streaming, the impact remains. Because moments like this do not simply disappear. The internet does not forget. His reputation took a major hit. His connections weakened, and the trust that once existed between him and parts of his audience was damaged, possibly permanently. And even now, people continue to ask the same questions. Was it truly an accident? Was there more happening behind the scenes? Or was this simply a moment where something hidden became visible? There may never be a clear answer that satisfies everyone. But what is clear is the impact. In the world of live streaming, everything is public. Every action, every click, every mistake. There is no pause button. There is no undo. And sometimes all it takes is a single moment to change everything. One window, one mistake, and a career that may never fully recover.